Shawna Kay Rodenberg, thank you so much for being on the show. That was a really fascinating interview, and I'm very curious about your book. I haven't read it. I've had pieces of it read to me, and as we talked about at the beginning of your interview with Laura, I grew up in the Mid-Atlantic area and recreated and hung out in the Appalachian country. So I have a deeper connection than I thought. Your interview brought up a lot of stuff for me.
Did it? I want to hear.
It did, yeah.
I want to hear.
Yeah, I understand now that much of the misunderstood stereotype of that area is because of financial disparity. I didn't understand that when I lived there. And I think I spent a lot of my time, just for the listeners who know, I was a very active outdoors person. Did a lot of rock climbing, mountain biking, kayaking, rafting in the West Virginia area. The West Virginia, Western Maryland, North or Southern Pennsylvania is just a mecca for all that. It's beautiful country. It's one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world. I think it's second oldest in the world. But with it comes, it is one of the most impoverished states in the U.S. It has been for many years in that area, at least West Virginia. And it does survive on the back of coal mining. And it is very private, as you mentioned. The people are private and suspicious by nature. And it just really reminded me of my beginnings. I think of banjos, bluegrass music, like I said, rivers and chasing fireflies. Like there's just so much that I remember now in hearing you talk. We use the word hillbillies, like that was, something that was recognized. Yeah. And it was an endearing term, right. And then it like living in the polar opposite. Now I live in LA. The word like hillbilly or banjo evokes a completely different reaction from people.
Right.
One that I don't have the patience to explain, but you've written a whole book that has given a compassion to a people and a journey that I think, like you said earlier, is an incomplete stereotype. It's an incomplete story that's been told, probably at the luxury of profit or popularity or being popular,
Right.
Right. Can I ask you, when did you decide you wanted to write this book? Like, what was there an event in your life or was there something?
Well, the honest answer is I didn't ever. I mean, it's a strange story, but, I told you that I sort of happily stumbled into writing. I started as a poet. I went to Bennington for poetry. I liked poetry because I felt like it allowed me a little more privacy. Okay. Like we were talking about, there's a sort of veil of artifice in poetry that I felt. Now I understand there's a veil in memoir too. I understand that too. And that memoir itself is also an art form. And that just because you're married to the truth doesn't mean that you're not also veiling parts of yourself, because your memoir is 250, 300 pages. I've been alive for 50 years. I chose what to tell. So it is also, you can be private in a memoir too. No memoir is a tell-all memoir,
And I will mention real quick that the book is called Kin, Ken.
Right.
And even that word evoked sort of a visceral reaction, because all my friends and family grew up say that these are my Ken folks.
Right. Right.
And I don't hear that here.
Right. So when I was writing my poems, I had a mentor who told me that he thought they would benefit. There was too much story in my poems, and that he thought they would benefit if I would write a memoir. And he sort of suggested this to me. It's Mark Wunderlich at the Bennington Writing Seminars. I feel like I should give him a shout out.
There you go.
He sort of got the ball rolling. And he said, don't write it for anybody, because he knew I wouldn't. I told him no right away. He said, you're not writing this for anybody. Just think about it as if you're writing it for your kids, because they should know sort of who you are, who their mother is, you know. And so I sort of started trying to write around it. And then after about a year and a half or 2 years, I had the prologue that we talked about in the podcast. And I took it to Bennington to a teacher I'd never had, because he was a nonfiction teacher and I had studied poetry. And I said, you know, what do you think? And he sent it to his agent, Bill Clegg. And Bill Clegg contacted me, and they sort of coached me through writing the first 4 chapters. But it still didn't really feel real. You know, it was such a dream.
Sure.
To have people in New York interested in what I was doing. I couldn't really wrap my mind around it. Even when I was there, the book went to auction. There was bidding, and I never really fully understood what was happening until after. I wish I could have, because I think I could have enjoyed the process more, but I thought that they were interviewing me and not wooing me. I didn't understand that
Sure.
relationship, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, then I was writing it, and we had a release date, and I gave it to my dad 6 months before the release date, because I wanted him to have time to read it and
he's
process
such a big
it.
part of,
He is.
He's a big part of the story. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there was not really ever a point where I was like, okay, now I'm really doing it. You know, it just sort of grew and snowballed. And then eventually I had a book, and every moment of it felt kind of like a dream. You know, sometimes good, sometimes bad.
I'm sure it still feels that way at times.
It does. Like, it really does. Like, I can't believe that I'm talking with people in Los Angeles who are interested in my book. You know, it just seems amazing to me. We're so far away right now. How do you know me? It's miraculous.
Well, I think there's something happening in the world where people really want to know more about what they don't understand. And, you know, Laura and I watched a couple of movies or shows that really reminded me. I don't know if you've seen Dope Sick.
I actually,
which took place.
Yeah, I know people who were part of that project. That's a wonderful project.
And I thought that was a really, really cool look at that culture, because that was, I was in those gas stations. You know, I was driving through those towns. I was getting soda, you know, whatever. And I'd forgotten what it felt like to be in those towns. So those shows came on. There was another one called Escape from Dannemore. I don't know if you saw that one as well.
No, I haven't seen that one. No.
That took place. Where was that, hon? Was that in Pennsylvania?
Oh, is that the Prison Break?
It was, yeah.
I wanted to see that. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
But again,
it's upstate New York. Sorry,
upstate New York. Yeah. But it was still very Appalachia, very you know, dark skies and rolling hills, and and I when you were telling your story, and you know, because I haven't read the book, but I really feel like that this is a deeper, more compassionate, more centric look at that life, and it really seems like it would be a great story to tell. Have you had anybody approach you about making this into something?
No, I did have one woman who said she knew someone and she was going to send it to him, but nothing serious. No, not yet. I'm hoping. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
I think it would be cool.
I think it would be too. Cool. I think it would be too. I don't know that I would watch it. But I probably would just ask the kids, "Can you watch it and tell me if it's awful?" They would.
I mean, I think people still hang on to the idea that Deliverance, that old movie,
it's terrifying.
Kind of that area.
It's terrifying.
It's awful. And
I don't want to be part of anything like that. You know.
No, and your story seems so much more humanized and so much more of something that people can really connect to. And we really, really value and appreciate you coming out and tell your story.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll keep an eye out for you, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. It sounds like it's going to be really interesting journey.
Yeah, I hope. Fingers crossed. I did have a medium
Right
tell
on.
me, I don't go to a medium, but I had one walk up to me and tell me that she knew already that my second book was going to strengthen the success of my first book. That's what she told me.
Right on.
So we'll see.
Well,
Yeah.
it's lovely to have you on the show, and
Thank
thank you
you.
again. You guys, please check out the episode. It's Shawna Kay Rodenberg, and she is the only one in the room. What did we decide it was? Sorry. She is the only one in the room. Honey, I can't find the title.
The only writer speaking up for the people of Kentucky.
Thank you.